What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here. It's 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock in the morning. Why are we here on a Monday, 11 o'clock in the morning? There is day baseball. Because of the holiday. Happy holiday. Happy Memorial Day out there. What is it, a 5-gamer? I want to say it's 5 games. I did not specifically count them, but I feel like it's 5. Yeah, 5-gamer starting at 105 on the East Coast. Got a little bit of weather we'll talk about in a second. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. He is back from vacation. He'll be on later on to host Crunch Time. Y'all get Dave Potts, Cheeseisgood, 2-time millionaire winner, as well as TJ Zwarych, the greatest DFS player in all of Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada. And we have Tasteful Tides, Tim, the greatest DFS player in all of Maine. Yes, Maine, big state, but not heavily populated.
It's possible. I'm not going to say it's a guarantee, but it's possible. It's possible.
Throw down the gauntlet, man. Do you know anybody in the state of Maine that plays DFS that you're aware of?
I do, actually. I know a couple guys that play quite a bit. Yeah.
Okay, so maybe am I slighting somebody without even knowing it? I'm not really sure.
I am better than both those guys, and they might be and they might be listening. So I'm not scared to say it.
Do they know you're better, or they're not really sure? Like they should know their place here. They know their role.
They know I'm better.
Well, there you go. The greatest DFS player in all of Maine, at least in a 3-person sample size, if nothing else, we can confirm. Right. But not a lot of people. What is Maine? 6 million? Just throwing out a number. Is that right?
Not even close. Not even close. No.
4 million? Or am I going the wrong way?
12 million. No, you're going the right way. You're going the right way. Go, keep going down, Dean.
It's less than 3 million people in Maine?
1.2.
What?
I honestly, Dean, I wasn't expecting you to be close, but 6 million is like that's shockingly high. That's shockingly high, Dean. That to me was I mean, if you had said like 4 or 3, I would have been like, okay, that's reasonable, but 6, no chance.
Dude, there's like that many people in South Florida, basically. Whatever, 1.5 million. There's more people than that in South Florida. 6 million is an outrageous number. I didn't realize that was outrageous. Okay. Oh, it's a pretty big state. Does everybody have like their own 1,500 acres or something like that? I'm not really sure, but
let's just say we're pretty spread out, Dean. That's all you got to know. That's all you got to know. There's not a lot of urban areas.
If you ever want to go on the lam, whatever reason, if you want to go off the grid, I feel like Maine's a good spot to go. I don't know if people even know.
I mean, I'm sure we've got a few, percentage points of people who are witness protection. Let's put it that way. I mean,
there you go.
People just appear, and we don't know where they came from, and we don't know anything about them. So, what's their story?
I don't know, but I'm not going to pry. Nothing good comes of that.
Exactly.
Yes, your name is Mark Smith. I believe that. That seems totally plausible. And you're an engineer. I'm not going to ask any more questions.
That's right.
All right, we got a 5-gamer today going down. Wait, did I say 5? It's 6, isn't it?
I didn't want to say anything. I was just going to let you go with your intro, but it's actually 6 game slate.
You know what? I was thinking it was even less because I'm looking at the pool of pitchers and I'm like, these guys are all kind of terrible except for Nathan Eovaldi, who looks spectacular. Eovaldi just like dropping complete games this year. I want to say 2 in his last 5 starts or so. Seems he's going like 7 basically reliably, and he's facing Detroit. He's kind of sort of somewhat expensive, like for a guy like Nathan Eovaldi. It's like Nathan Eovaldi is 11.2K. That's on Fanduel. He's 10.5K on DK, but he is, and it's pretty justifiable, especially when you're shopping around. Especially on DK, we got to roster 2 of these guys. It gets rough really, really fast. By the way, no Adley Rutschman today for Baltimore. Some of the lineups are kind of creeping out. They're kind of popping out, and I think that might make a little bit of a difference as far as considering Logan Allen as an SP2. He might move up a little bit up the ranks. That weakens the Baltimore lineup to some degree. But, what are we looking at here as far as today's slate? The offense is there's some good offensive spots. St. Louis is close to a 6 total against the combination of looks like Joshua. I don't know him well enough to call him Josh, so I'm just going to call him Joshua Stottman. Stottman. And Mike Myers is expecting to be the long man there for Kansas City. He was good last time he came out as a long man, but historically not a very good pitcher. Almost a 6 total there for St. Louis today, Tim. Pretty good pitching weather today in Chicago. It's whatever we have an 8 total with Tampa versus Stroman. It's not incredible, but pretty good. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth will tell you what he has to say about that in the weather report in just a second. And Arizona's got a 9.5 total versus Colorado, partly because like Ryan Nelson not great, but this Carl Kaufman with the 2 Fs and the 2 Ns leading to 5.5 as far as a run total for Arizona. We're probably not going to get that lineup throughout the day. And we have an Astros team that only has a 4 total because they're facing probably the second best pitcher on this slate, Sonny Gray, who's been really lucky, at least from a home run, a fly ball perspective. That's one of the traits of the slate. I was kind of like looking at some of the, all the pitchers collectively as far as home run to fly ball. Some very lucky pitchers. You know how many home runs Sonny Gray has given up this year in 54 to third innings? I'm kind of leading the witness here, but 54 to third innings for Sonny Gray. 0. No homers.
0.
Not a home run. 33% fly balls. Like, at some point, somebody's going to homer off of Sonny Gray. Anthony Eovaldi, by the way, this year, 32% fly balls, 0.39 homers per 9, a 5% homer to fly ball. Logan Allen, 8.1% homer to fly ball. Wainwright's not been good, but 8.6% homer to fly ball. Lucky there. Carl Kaufman, small sample, 9.1% homer to fly ball. Matthew Boyd, 10% homer to fly ball. Like, a lot of them is just really, really low. Obviously some small sample stuff out there as well. We did just get a Cubbies lineup, by the way. Mastro Buoni is leading off. Does that mean there's no Horner? Horner's batting second. Okay, we're just shaking stuff up here for Chicago.
Where's your guy?
Oh, you can't play Christopher Morel. Like, why would you play Christopher Morel? He hasn't homered in 5 days. Bench him. Drop him down the AAA. Fire him. Cut him. Okay, that's interesting. We'll talk about Bradley as well. Horner, Happ, Suzuki, Swanson, Tachman, Rios, the rookie Mervis, who's been pretty uneventful so far, right? And then Tucker, Barnhart.
That's a bad-looking lineup. That just doesn't even – something – who else is missing other than your guy?
Wisdom. There's no Wisdom in there.
Okay.
Which is good and bad, right? Because he's got power, but he can also strike out. So it's kind of a push-pull if you want him in there or not. But it feels like there might be somebody else missing too. It's a bad.
I know that looks real ugly.
Is Barnhart their everyday catcher, or is it somebody else, or it's like a 1-1A situation?
I think it's a 1-1A situation.
It's not. And they dropped Swanson, right? Does Swanson usually hit 5th? I feel like he doesn't. Doesn't Swanson usually hit 2?
I've seen him in a lot of different spots this year. I don't know if he's got like a usual spot.
I believe the Cubs just got swept by the Reds, and this is when you get swept by the Reds, you got to shuffle stuff up, I think, is the rules. Per the rule book, and that's this is what they're doing today, I suppose. Do you want to say what's up to the chat? What's up, chat? Jan Gomes, that's who it is. Alex is telling us Swanson's in the 2-hole usually. Yes, that's what I thought. And Gomes is not in there. It's Barnhart instead of Gomes. Day game after a night game. I guess that kind of sort of makes sense. We see it sometimes, but this is a goofy Chicago lineup.
It's too bad, Taj. It's too bad Taj Bradley's so expensive because that's like I think this is a pretty significant downgrade for Chicago. And I know we'll get to it, but I mean, there's some severe wind blowing in at Wrigley. It's a really, really good day for pitchers at Wrigley today. So it's a pretty severe downgrade, I think, for the Chicago Bats.
Let's go ahead and read this because we have time to do so. I'll drop it in chat as well as far as Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth back from vacation. Happy to have him back. He'll be joining the show in about an hour or so, taking y'all straight up the lock with TJ Zwarych as well as Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. Currently in Baltimore, it's a yellow-orange situation. Pretty good chance for a delay here with rain most likely today in a time frame that matches up perfectly with our playing hours. However, it's not an all-day kind of rain, so I'm pretty confident they're able to play this game without much drama. My real question this far out, and like I assume he wrote this morning, is whether or not they late start or just play and hope to avoid showers. We'll see how radar looks pregame. Yeah, that's going to be interesting as far as pitchers there when it comes to Cleveland and Baltimore. We'll keep an eye on it. Of course, Roth will give you a better update, the closer we get to lock. And like you said, as far as the Cubbies, winds are blowing in from center at nearly 10 miles per hour, a boost to the pitchers in the most wind-sensitive park in baseball. Temperatures in the 70s, not as cool as one would expect. It's been cooler. What does Weather Edge say about this? I did not get a chance to jump to it. So you on Weather Edge right now, or shall I jump to it?
I'm not on there right now. I looked at it earlier. I think it's pretty significant, and I think there's a pretty significant sample size if I remember correctly.
Is Weather Edge working for you? It's like wonky right now for me. I can't seem to pull it up. Oh, here we go.
So in 153 games, we see a 21% reduction in home runs and a 10% reduction in total runs. So, it's pretty significant, and it's a huge sample size.
Yeah, and you mentioned, and we'll talk about it. Obviously, we'll talk about every single pitcher in the slate basically because we have the time to do so. But you're talking about Bradley. It's too bad it's too expensive. But like, there's a lot of things pointing to Bradley, and I'm trying to figure out SP2 on DK. I know it's tricky. It's a little bit tougher. You can go double barrel, like for sure. I don't know why Bradley is not in contention as an SP2. I know he seems overpriced, but a lot of these guys kind of seem overpriced when you just sort of like jump around.
The issue that I have with Bradley is his leash. It seems like he doesn't really get over 90 pitches, I think, ever. And I think it's a pretty hard cap. And we know that the Rays tend to do that with their pitchers. So I see no reason to expect that he's going to get above that number. And he's at peak pricing. Now, can he pay off that price tag? Absolutely. Can he be part of your tournament pool? Absolutely. But do I have a whole ton of confidence that he's going to achieve, like a ceiling? Not really, because again, he's at peak pricing and he has no leash. So he's got to be really, really, really good, really efficient to win you a tournament at that price. But I like that lineup he's going up against, and I like him as as a young prospect, and we've seen him flash huge games, but now we're paying for it. So it's a little bit concerning. That's the kind of bear case on him.
Yeah, he's got the biggest K rate on this slate. Small sample size, like you said, 24 to 30 innings, 33.7% as far as Ks. That's really good. The walks have been excellent. Walks a lot of times can be, the hiccup for young pitchers, but 4% walk so far this season. That's really solid as well. The Chicago lineup that he's facing, Tauchman's been a contact guy. Horner's a contact guy. Tauchman's small sample. I don't know if that's legit. At 28 at bats, I'm looking at the plate IQ, 15.4% as far as Ks, but collectively, 24.1% striking out. The Rios, again, that's kind of a small sample with 37%. Mervis so far in the majors against all right-handers this season. We're looking at 27.8%. The power hasn't really been there either. Barnhart, 28.4%. They are very patient, which is interesting. Collectively, 13.6% as far as walks this year versus righties. That's really, really good. Like, everybody's in the green with the exception of Horner. But again, small sample stuff. Bradley's been really, really good as far as throwing strikes, just 4% walks. And again, you got to roster 2 of these 12 guys, and it gets ugly pretty quickly on DK. I suppose we should talk about Eovaldi and where you stand on Eovaldi. Obviously, he's been good. You speak of leash. Like, I don't know if anybody has a longer leash, or at least he's been super efficient, if nothing else. I'm not like a big game log watcher, right? But if you look at the game log, as far as the innings, just these straight innings pitched that Eovaldi this season. Last time out, 9. 9's a lot. 9 innings. 7 versus Atlanta, 8 2/3 versus Oakland. Just couldn't finish that one. Angels, 8 innings, 9 innings versus the Yankees. And then before that, just 6 and 6, right? But even still, setting himself up for, if nothing else, a quality start the QS on FanDuel. Eovaldi is the clear best pitcher on this slate, I think. And he's got a great matchup against Detroit. Detroit, spoiler, is bad. Do we have an official Detroit lineup? I believe we do.
We do, yeah. It's a sea of red in plate IQ, Dean. I mean, it's red all over the place. I never thought that I'd say that Eovaldi would be good chalk, but I think he is. He's clearly your cash game guy, 100% your SB1. We know he has a huge ceiling. He's got a great floor in this matchup. He's also going to be the highest owned. So, I mean, if you want to play the ownership game, the only reason to fade Eovaldi is the ownership game, right? It's not the matchup. It's not his skills. It's just do I want to play 50% owned Eovaldi? My answer would be yes. This Tigers team, this Tigers team does not intimidate me at all. I mean, there are just huge K numbers up and down this lineup. It's I don't see them unless Babbitt really gets to him. I don't see him getting like blown up in this matchup. Doesn't mean he's going to go for like a complete game shutout, but I mean this is the clear chalk, and in my opinion, this is good chalk.
Feel free to fire up your questions in chat. When you ask your questions, give us specifics. Let us know if you're playing on Fanduel, if you're playing on Draftkings, if you're playing in tournaments, you're playing in cash games, single entry tournaments, large field tournaments. All that stuff helps. And Rance has a question who says, I'm only playing the 2-gamer. Very specific question here, Tim. Who scores more runs today? The Astros or the Twins? And like that, by the way, that doesn't always matter. Like you can have a team that scores 7 runs and there's no homers. It's all singles and doubles, and the team that scores 5 and it's 4 homers. So, but yeah, I understand the question.
So if you're playing the 2-gamer, Arizona is going to be like the absolute chalkiest of that 2-game slate. So that's something to consider. But I do love Arizona today, and they are my favorite stack. But if you're just playing the 2-gamer, your ownership's going to be a lot different. But if they're just asking me who's going to score more runs, it's probably going to be Arizona. They're in an amazing spot. So that's my answer.
Yeah. Okay. So they weren't asking about Colorado, and maybe they're running out a bunch of Arizona stuff. And they're looking for a secondary stack. I'm not really sure, but if you're going to talk about as far as Colorado, Arizona plays a 4-10 as well as the other 4-10 Minnesota and Houston. Mm-hmm. You're saying you got Arizona 1. Who's 2 and 3 between Minnesota, Houston, and Colorado? Colorado probably not 2 or 3, despite the fact they face Ron Nelson, but Colorado just horrific.
See, actually, I think Colorado is number 2 for me because if you're going to play Arizona, you're going to be eating up a lot of salary. Assuming you're going to be pitching, let's assume you're going to be pitching JP France and Sonny Gray. How are you going to fit other guys in your team? So Colorado is the bottom half of that Colorado lineup's pretty cheap. They have a higher total than Minnesota. Their total's not that much lower than Houston, who's going up against Sonny Gray, who's not necessarily somebody that I want to pick on. So if we're playing the 2-game slate, I say go Arizona, Colorado.
All right, fair enough. I personally wouldn't have Colorado second, but I hear what you're saying. I just give me the good hitters, and I'll take my chances against Sonny Gray, who is fine, but like you got to make tough choices when it comes to a 2-gamer as well. And I don't even think like JP France is that great, but I guess he's the second best pitcher by default. He is, but whatever. I don't think he's spectacular. I'm okay picking on him too. We'll talk about it. Bunch of questions here loading up here in chat. Robert's got a good question, and you might want to answer this differently because just so you know before you answer. He wants to know the real estate in Maine. Can I get a decent house and some land for $400K? I'm not sure if you're on Zell, not Zell. What's Zillow?
Zillow, yeah.
But you probably you don't want neighbors. You don't want them coming, right? I assume is part of the perks.
Luckily that he can't get anything for $400K anywhere near where I am. So
okay,
he'd have to go a couple hours north, but you can do it. So it's possible. There's some very, very cheap land in Maine.
Can I see less than 10 people when I go grocery shopping in Maine? That's what Robert wants to know.
100%.
Yeah?
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The store is basically yours?
Basically, yeah.
Okay, so Jared wants to know our SB2 for cash. Are you playing cash this 6-gamer? I'm not. I'm just playing tournaments.
I am. So
good conversation.
I'd like to see an update from Roth because that Cleveland-Baltimore game. I have interest in Tyler Wells. I even perhaps have interest in Logan Allen. So I know that I'm not going to be playing anybody from KC St. Louis. I'm not going to be playing anybody in cash from Colorado, Arizona in terms of pitchers anyway. Taj Bradley and Marcus Stroman, probably not. So it kind of leads me to Sonny Gray, JP France, or Logan Allen, Tyler Wells. Now, if Roth were to say it's not safe for pitchers, definitely not safe for pitchers in cash games, well, now we're stuck with Sonny Gray or JP France. Then it becomes a question of, who are the premium bats in cash game settings that we have to play? Well, we're definitely going to be getting a couple. Like, we're going to be in cash games. We're going to be getting to guys like Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, perhaps Pavin Smith, if he's batting leadoff, Christian Walker. So can we fit Sonny Gray? Do we want to pitch Sonny Gray in cash games? My lean is that I want to pitch JP France, but that's terrifying. So it's really I'd like to hear more information from Roth about that first game. Hopefully there's a little bit of an update. If he gives us some improvement in the weather, says it's safe for pitching, then I might be leaning at looking at Tyler Wells. That probably would be my cash game SP2.
I think it's a pretty fluid situation. I'm not playing cash either, but like I'm with you as far as having the cash game brand, and I played a fair bit this season. I didn't want to deal with this conundrum. Essentially, I didn't like the question. I'm like, I don't want to answer it. For what it's worth, I ran some optimal stuff, and it's not really helpful, right? Eovaldi hits the ceiling as far as getting the cap when it comes to pitchers. Of course, you throw him in your cash game lineup on DK, but as an SP2, 30% goes to Sonny Gray, 30% goes to JP France, 23% goes to Stroman, right? 18% Bradley, 13% Allen. It's just spread out. And maybe just pick your hitters first that you feel really good about, and whatever's left amongst that group. Do you feel staunchly? Yeah.
Wells doesn't pop up in those, Dean, at all?
7% Wells.
Wow. Kind of surprised.
Yeah. But I'm okay with that too. Like, I think that's fine.
Yeah. I'm just surprised. I would have had like Wells and Stroman flip flops, but maybe that weather is just so good. But man, going against Tampa Bay, like that just seems scary. And Stroman's not like a high strikeout guy, so the ball's going to be put in play. So I don't know. I'm not really about Stroman today.
Yeah, Tampa this year, defying the odds, however you want to say it. Like, again, their WRC plus, it's a wild. It is fascinating, and I was talking about this the other day on Sirius with Chop about how amazing they've been. So their WRC plus this season, this is not against lefty, righty, whatever. It's against all of them, against everybody. Is 139, a 139 WRC plus, which means 139, 100 is the baseline. They're 39%. There's 39% better than the average baseball team. 100 is average. Number two, don't tell Cardi this. Don't tell Cardi. I hope he's not listening. But the second highest WRC plus team in the season is the Texas Rangers, right? I don't know if Cardi does not. Well, to be fair, when Cardi was arguing against him, I think he was talking about him when Seager was not there. But I'm sure the chat.
What Cardi would say to that though.
Small sample.
Small sample, and they're not going to be this good at the end of the year. Like regression will hit them.
Yes,
that's what he would say.
Yes, and then what Cheese would say, Dave Potts would say, well, you can't say that, and then also say Nolan Arenado's been bad this year. Right? So
that's right.
It's you can have fun with stats, and this isn't. I'm not taking shots. I just think it's kind of a fun conversation. And Cardi obviously knows more about baseball than I do for sure. But all right, Tampa.
Me too, definitely.
139 WRC plus for Tampa. The next highest team, right, as far as WRC plus is Texas. Texas, a 118 WRC plus. Very good. 18 percentage points ahead of ahead of the average team. The difference between Tampa and Texas, 1 and 2, is 21 points. The difference between Texas, 2, 118, and Philadelphia, 99, right? We're talking about 19 points. Less. The difference between 1 and 2 is greater than the difference between 2 and 17. Isn't that just like wild?
That's
Again,
crazy.
It's small sample stuff, but that's crazy. That just shows how amazing Tampa's been. And I also
what do you
agree.
think?
They can't keep this up.
You're more of a GPP guy than I am. So what are you going to do with Stroman? Right? I mean, he's showing up with 23% ownership. Like it's not like you're getting him at any kind of ownership discount. It's like I'm trying to look at the slate from like, everyone's kind of perspective, how everybody tends to play. I know that I don't want to play him in cash games. I'm not gonna be playing him in single entry. But I only play one team. If I'm making 10 teams, how many Strowman do I get? I don't even know if I want to get to one. I don't know if that's a bad play or not. It seems like I would rather, assuming that we can play pitchers from Cleveland and Baltimore. Let's assume that we can play those. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know if I'd put him. I think I'd have to make more than 10 teams before I got to any Strowman.
I think one of the big questions to the answer is your SB2 going to be a separator? Is your SB2 going to be the reason why you win the slate? Right. And I don't think so. So I think you just want to pick somebody that, quote unquote, like survives, that doesn't destroy your team, right? And Strowman's typically a guy that goes 5 to 6 innings and gives up a couple runs and strikes out 4 to 5 or so. And maybe that's good enough. Right? I don't really want to actively pick on Tampa, but you can't just say, well, I'm not going to play Strowman, because now you have to have a follow-up question. Okay, if you're not playing Strowman, who are you going to play? You already have Eovaldi playing. Sonny Gray has been good this year, but again, I talked about how he's been lucky homer to fly ball. Like, eventually he's going to give up a homer. That Houston Astros team is good. Like, there's some good hitters there. We haven't seen their lineup just yet, but assuming it's a standard, Jordan and Tucker, and obviously Altuve is back now. Bregman could still hit baseballs. Pena, obviously falls off a little bit in the back end, but it's still an offense I don't really want to actively pick on. Gray, historically, kind of reverse splitsy, some righty power. Crawford boxes down the left field line. You can get kind of a cheap homer when it comes to the righty power there. I know their two best hitters are lefties. I don't totally believe that JP France is like legit. I just don't totally buy it. I think he's fine. I think he's rosterable. I like the stuff from Bradley. I like the matchup for Bradley. And maybe if Bradley just goes 5 innings, like, that's good. I think that's acceptable because, again, who is his competition? Who does he have to beat, right?
If I'm making 10 teams, Taj Bradley is definitely in my pool in some capacity. I like him a lot more than Strowman, just because I want to hunt for strikeouts. So, I mean, it's like if he has that big strikeout game, like that's what I want. I'd rather pay the $1,300 more for Bradley over Strowman.
Does the fact that Rushman's not playing today move the needle a little bit for Logan Allen?
Yeah, absolutely does. And I have a lot of interest in Logan Allen. I have a lot of interest in Tyler Wells. But again, it's that little bit of yellow-orange from Roth that's making me a little bit hesitant to just say, oh, play these guys. If weather was not a concern, I would have Wells and Allen ranked ahead of Strowman and Bradley. And then another pitcher that we should talk about, even though it's kind of gross, is Matthew Boyd. I think that, well, I mean, I'm not saying that you have to play him, but if you want to load up on some expensive bats and just take a chance, right, at 6,900, I don't think he's going to come with a lot of ownership. I think he can have success in this matchup. Doesn't mean that he will. Doesn't even mean that he probably will. But I think that he can. So for tournaments, if you wanted to pair Boyd and Eovaldi and get to some more expensive bats, I don't necessarily have a problem with that. If you look at Cardi's projections, he has Boyd projected pretty decently. So if people are going to be scared to play him, I think he's worth getting to some exposure in a GPP portfolio, maybe 1 out of 10 teams or something like that.
Texas, I think, one of the better teams this season, hitting versus lefties for what it's worth. And Boyd, walks too many guys, 9.6%. The Ks are okay at 20.9%. 2 lefties for what it's worth in this lineup, Seager and Nate Lowe. Otherwise, it's loaded up with righties, and that's Boyd's been vulnerable to righties this season. 345 WOBA, 186 ISO, almost 50% fly balls to right-handers as well. But like you said, if those balls just die on the warning track as opposed to going over the fence, and it's just about survival, sure. If you were, I know you're not making 150 or just, I have a question in chat I want to get to, but let's ask this. How many tournament lineups would you have to make until you get Boyd? your 7th iteration, your 15th iteration?
I think 10. I think 10. I think I'd have him in 1 out of 10.
Could be Travis wants to know, building 150 lineups on DK, is there any pitcher that you would X out entirely on this slates?
Yes.
Can I guess? Can I guess who you'd say?
Yeah. Well,
I think
to be honest with you, there's 3, Dean.
Okay. Let's play the feud. I'm going to say you're going to X out Carl Kaufman.
Correct.
Carl Kaufman this year, small sample stuff. He got promoted, although like Colorado is a bad organization, and I don't know who else is available. I'm not really savvy when it comes to their minor leaguers, but looking at his stats, they were not impressive. Good for him for getting promoted and getting making his MLB debut, but he's not been good. I know he's outside of Coors, but we like the Arizona side more. 5.5 total for Arizona kind of leads you in that direction as well. I don't think I get the Kaufman either, although he is really, really, really cheap at 4.8K if you're looking just for flat out salary savings. But I imagine if you want something like that, you'll probably go with Michael Mayers at 5.4K for St. Louis. Not that you feel great about it, but if you're digging down there, I'm guessing you like Mayers over Kaufman if you're picking one of those two.
I do, but I would still X out Mayers.
Okay, yeah. So does he officially count? I don't know if you're counting like Stamont because he's just an opener.
I'm not counting him.
Okay, so no Mayers, no Kaufman. So I said that the last person you're Xing out is going to be either Wainwright or Nelson. I think it's Wainwright.
It's Wainwright, yeah. Wainwright. I'm less confident about Xing out Wainwright. I guess he could be okay. But because this Royals team is still kind of like it's not very good, other than a couple of the pieces in the middle. But I'd much prefer getting to Nelson if I'm in that 6K range. So I don't know. I'm gonna say no to Wainwright. I think those would be my 3 guys. I definitely would X out Kaufman and Myers. And then maybe if you wanted to have a pinch of Wainwright, I guess you could, but I still prefer no.
Yeah, I mean, not to be a total ageist here, but yeah, Wainwright, 41 years old. This is probably it. It's the end of the line. He's been like a good innings eater and just like good at just getting ground balls and being okay, right? Coming into this season, not completely terrible, but he's not been great this year. The strikeouts have mostly gone away, 10.2%. Lowest swinging strikeout rate in the slate as well, 4.5%. The walks are pretty good at 6.1%, but what really is the upside with Waino? There are some Ks in this lineup. Melendez and Massey have struck out a ton this year versus righties. With 31%, 35% respectively. Prado leading off, 35% Ks, but what are you really expecting? What's the line? I know we have what's the betting line on Wainwright? Like as far as his over under 3.5.
His K prop.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can scroll to it fast enough. That will be my guess.
I know. I was kind of surprised. Not that I am, a bettor by any means. But I was kind of surprised to see the Cardinals were minus 200.
Yeah,
I just felt high. Maybe they should be like 160 or something. Not to say they shouldn't be favored. They should definitely be favored. But it just seemed a little high to me.
Okay, so if you want to bet over 3.5 on Wainwright, you got to lay 139 juice. That's at Caesars. So it's interesting. He's at if you want to go over 4.5, then all of a sudden you get positive juice. Over 4.5 plus 124, over 3.5 minus 139. I'm not recommending any of that.
I wouldn't recommend anything either. I think that's a complete stay away. If I had to choose one, I'd do the over 4.5 and get the plus money. But I wouldn't do either one.
I think I would too. That's 65 points, right? 139, negative 139 to plus 124. But of course, Wainwright, his strikeouts are precious and few and far between.
Yeah,
so
I wouldn't do either one.
He very well might land on 4.
Yeah.
Do hit that like button, by the way. We have TJ hanging out. He'll be jumping in about 35 minutes or so. I imagine Spidey is up today. Spidey Bombs will be lurking. TJ Zwarych as well as Dave Potts. Cheeseisgood. You get the return of Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth as well. Jared wants to know, Tim, are the townspeople in the movie The Mist accurate? I guess I believe Stephen King wrote The Mist, and I believe Stephen King is a resident of Maine. Does that all check out?
That is all. It all checks out. Yeah,
I think I know the ending of that movie, and I've never seen it, but the ending I hear is I saw one of those lists of like crazy wild endings to movies, and it's my own fault because I asked for it and I clicked on it, but the ending seems pretty wild in The Mist. But so I can't watch it now because it's already been ruined for me. I guess I gotta like get one of those Men in Black like Mind Erasers, whatever. So now I can watch it and forget it even happened. But have you seen The Mist? Can you confirm the townspeople are like that?
It's been so long since I've seen The Mist, but I'm sure it's pretty close. It's pretty close. Definitely in the wintertime. Things get eerie around here in the wintertime. That's for sure.
Tony's saying, by the way, this is a good call. Royce Lewis he was called up. Royce Lewis, once a really, really prized prospect in the Minnesota organization. I believe he tore his ACL. I think he's coming back from the ACL. We haven't seen him this year. It happened in the middle of last season or so he's on his way back. He was playing at AAA. He did get called up. I assume they're going to play him. We'll see. But he is 2K on DK and seems to be a potential interesting salary saver. Not that Lewis was like smashing baseballs last year, but just a pedigree. A lot of promise with Lewis, and he's 2K. And if you're looking to save salary, if he's in the lineup, sure, I'm interested. Why not? Yeah, but
really, that's a really great call. I'm glad somebody brought that up. I should have brought that up. Yeah, great punt play if he's in. I'm not sure if he'll be in today or not, but they're definitely not a person to keep an eye out for. Definitely.
Let's see what else is going on in the chat. I'm just catching up. Powerbooks wants to know how many stacks did you have for an 8-game slate? What slate is that? The night? What's an 8-game slate? Because we're on 6, or is that a typo? Why would they say 8?
I don't know what they mean by 8, but let's just say that's a typo. So let's just say, how many stacks did you have for a 6-game slate? Like how many? Like, is he asking? Do you think like how many different teams would you have exposure to, or?
Yes, and I think that answer is fluid, personally, depending on who's playing and depending on how good the stacks may or may not be. And some days I want to spread out, and I say like, here's 7 offenses look exactly the same, and other days like, here's these 3 offenses that I think are all spectacular, and I don't know which one of these 3, but I feel like one of these 3 is going to put up at least 10. Right?
I wouldn't make any hard fast rules about that kind of thing. What I would do is identify the chalk, understand, if you want to be over or underweight, kind of the chalk, understand, how do we exploit our opponents? That's the name of the game, right? Do you want to be chalky? Do you want to get leverage? Those to me are the more important questions to ask, rather than how many teams should I be stacking on a certain size slate.
By the way, we do have the Minnesota lineup, and Lewis is in it. He's batting 5th. There's no Buxton, though. No Buxton in the Minnesota lineup.
Interesting.
Gallo leading off. Julien batting the 2-hole. Correa with all his revenge. Kirilov DHing. Lewis. Kepler's back as well. Max Kepler is also back for them. He's probably cheap as well. I've not checked to see what his price is. I'm curious what it is. Jeffers
3.9.
Yeah, that's about market price. That's what he typically is, right? Give or take.
Yeah.
Jeffers, Castro, and Taylor round out that lineup. Yeah, I think Gallo's interesting when you talk about hitters in a second. No Buxton. Buxton was one of the guys I really liked today. I like Buxton with the Crawford boxes, but he's fragile and they can't play him every single day, and I kind of sort of somewhat get it. Day game. Is it a day game in Houston? What time was that game? 4:00?
4:10, yeah.
Well, I guess it's local time. 3 or 2 Central? Houston? 1 hour difference? 1 hour difference, right?
I think it's 1.
Anything else going on in chat that we should chime in on? Talking about a little bit of golf in there. Okay, so Brian's asking about, tell me how the stack settings work in the stacks page. If you have lineup HQ, what happens if I add up the percentage and it's under or over 100%? I mean, I know if it's over 100%, it's okay. Like, it's just you're not going to get what you're asking for, obviously, but like it's not going to break. You can certainly go over or under it. I've never gone under it, so I don't know what happens when you go under it. I suppose you just get some kind of beat the thresholds. And it does its best, depending on what sort of parameters you put in there. I imagine you probably don't mess with that much. You don't really MME a ton.
I'm a real bad person to ask that, unfortunately, because I just don't MME enough to really know all the things about build rules and stacks and things like that in HQ.
Yeah, I do it on occasion, and the more rules you put in, the more restricting you're making it for yourself. But yeah, it'll figure it out for the most part. And if you're pumping up your salary, I usually want to leave like no less than or no more than 2,000, 1,500, depending on the day. Probably even less, depending. Again, everything's sort of dependent on. But I want to give it some wiggle room. I don't want to leave 7,000 or 8,000 though. I certainly want to do that. So I certainly pump that up. Some people like to. Oh, go ahead.
Yes, I was just going to say another thing that I would say is ask the two guys coming in after us, right? Like,
yes,
Cheese is always making 150, TJ's making 153, with the 300, like those are the guys. Like, I'm 3 max at most, usually just 1. So like I'm not really, and I'm hand building, so
yeah.
it's like I'm not.
You're old school. Like me.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I'm not the right person to ask.
Chuck in chat is saying to fire up Wainwright. Okay, you can do that.
I mean, you can. Kansas City's horrible, but I don't agree with that take. But that's just me. That's not my money would not back
that. Brian was not a fan of the mist, by the way. 1.2 out of 10, and that's if you're high AF. That seems. Why the 1.2? Why not just go full and just give it a 1? Why give it a 0.2? You got to add decimals, otherwise it's an amateur score, right? But yeah, okay. I haven't seen it, so I really can't speak to it. Michael's asking JP France or TJ or Taj Bradley on FanDuel. Bradley probably doesn't get you the quality start. That you want to start there. It doesn't mean he can't outscore France. But he probably doesn't go 6, right? Just probably doesn't have a chance to.
Probably not.
Bradley versus France. You have a preference amongst those two? On FanDuel specifically?
There's significant price difference on FanDuel. $1,700 price difference. And France is only going to be twice the ownership, which isn't horrible. Bradley 8% to France's 16%. I still say go with France. I mean, it's neither one of them are, amazing, but I say take the savings and go with France.
Anthony in chat saying, yeah, shout out to Jose Abreu. He finally hit his first homer yesterday. Of course, it came against the A's because they always come against the A's. Have you seen the A's of late, by the way? I want to say they're like 1 for their last 22 or 23. Like, at what point does Major Baseball just step in and just shut it down? Shut it down. Like, what is this? It's embarrassing.
I am a firm believer, and I'm not being sarcastic. We need it to be like, yeah, like in all major sports, just like they have in European soccer.
We're just not set up for it.
No, I know, and of course, the detriment to local economies would be pretty massive. So there's that factor too. But I mean, some of these teams and all of these sports are they just don't belong. And it's like, how do we fix that? I don't know, but I really like what they do with soccer. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, yesterday was a big day over there across the pond, right?
Yep.
I think was it Leicester City got relegated? I saw. The greatest upset in the history of sports. You can argue as far as them winning, 6 years ago, whatever it was, which is just. They have no playoffs, which is just so odd. It's just a strange thing to get attached to. There's no playoffs. It's just the season ends and that's that. Whoever's first. But yeah, I don't watch. I like soccer. I love soccer, but just you can only watch so many things, right? And it's just that's not what I do. I don't play DFS soccer, so I can only watch so much, leisurely. But
I play the World Cup. Sometimes I play the World Cup definitely, and sometimes I play the Saturday slates. But there was 10 games yesterday, and I was like, I can't deal with this. I don't know enough to deal with 10 games. I was like, this is too overwhelming.
Chuck says the A's aren't even close to the worst team in baseball this season. Who is the worst team in baseball if not the A's? What am I missing? How is that not possible? Who's worse than the A's? the Albuquerque Isotopes. Who's he thinking of? Nobody's worse than the A's, right? The Royals are 16-38. The A's are 10-45.
I was gonna say the A's have 10 wins.
Who's worse than the A's?
There's nobody even close.
I don't know who it could be, but
it's not. I'm looking right at it. The closest is the Royals with 16.
Yeah.
They've lost 10 in a row. They're 10-45.
But it's even worse. I think they're like 1 for their last 23. I want to say, it's just an embarrassment. I mean, they're going to Vegas soon at some point. I think they bought the Tropicana land, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's they're gonna. There's already renditions. It looks awesome. I just wish like this ownership group wouldn't get rewarded for like the disaster that they're steering right now, because they're gonna get much richer. But whatever. I suppose that's just how this goes. Because you shouldn't get rewarded for putting out this terrible product, right? Somebody should take their team away and sell to some. I don't know, whatever. I don't know why I'm getting that going on my soapbox about this, but you should be embarrassed and you should be ashamed. You should be kicked out of baseball for what you're doing. For a long time, by the way, this team in Oakland just putting out a horrible, horrible product. But yeah, and I feel bad for the A's fans, whatever's left of them, the diehards, because are you now going to be a Vegas fan? I know it's not that far away, but still,
they could be.
You're too bitter.
They're not gonna go to the Giants or the Dodgers, I would imagine.
Oh, you can't go to the Giants.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
I don't know how that. Just start playing fantasy baseball some more, I suppose. We still have several lineups that have not yet come in. Unsurprisingly, no Rockies 4:00 as far as the start 4:10 specifically on the East Coast. No Arizona, no Tampa, which we should be getting soon. That's a 2:20 game, so I imagine that's coming in shortly. And no Astros. All right. Do we want to get final thoughts as far as pitchers? Anything else that we should sort of hit on? I believe any sort of pitcher questions we have answered in chat. Steve Andrews wants to know, let's see how old you are. Dave Henderson or Ricky Henderson? Shout out to the old school Oakland Athletics. Yeah, I mean, it's Ricky.
It's Ricky, right?
I mean, yeah. But Dave Henderson was kind of fun too. But Ricky, the greatest leadoff hitter of all time, or at least at the time he was. And you ask Kevin, he was the greatest too. Remember, he gave a speech when he stole the stolen base record. He's like, "I am the greatest." Like, oh yeah, I guess you are.
Who is better than him as a career leadoff hitter?
Was Ichiro a leadoff hitter? I think he was for a while.
I think he was, yeah.
So I mean, I haven't fully thought this out. But like off the dome, like Ricky obviously was spectacular. Maybe you know who it might be? Miles Masterboni. It could be Miles Masterboni. He's hitting leadoff today.
I don't think so.
You never know. This could be the start of something great.
I doubt it.
Yeah. There's somebody at one of the Rockies. I missed the question now. I apologize. I thought I saw it in chat. They're asking Diaz or Blackman on Fanduel. I guess it's Elias Diaz. We don't have the official lineup just yet for Colorado. We have a preference amongst those two. I guess that's for the utility spot.
I think it's Blackman. He's only $100 more. I would go Blackman.
Producer Steve, by the way, saying the Mets are the worst team in baseball. Yeah. And they let what's his name? Alvarez hit second yesterday in Coors. That was kind of an interesting. And he homered because Coors, and he's got tremendous power. I don't know what they're going to do with that going forward, but he had a couple homers this weekend. But I think they ended up losing. I think their pitching imploded because of Coors Field. I'm sure we can bring producer Steve on if he has to. I'm sure he has some thoughts as far as his Mets, and they're not positive because all the promise coming into this year, and then like Verlander looks old and Scherzer looks old, and they were taking victory laps too. Like, we didn't sign DeGrom to. Look how injured he is. We knew it, and then we got these guys, young, fresh, Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer.
DeGrom's still injured though.
Yeah. But yeah, you were fist bumping.
Sosa can't let it go. He's still got to do a victory lap.
Yeah. What's your most memorable moment from the Gary Sanchez New York Mets tenure? You have like a memory, Steve? Like what you think back on Gary Sanchez before they retire his number? What's the most memorable thing in the tenure for Sanchez playing for the Mets? What do you got?
Probably when he dropped a foul ball right to him in
It
like
must
the
have
2
been a
games
pop
he
up,
played.
right?
It
Was he
was a
catching?
pop up and he like was right
Yeah.
under it and he just missed it.
Yeah.
He like
All right.
flopped out of the way.
When he comes back and plays against the Mets in a couple of years, they're going to put that in the big screen. Like, thanks for the memories, Gary.
Yeah, and then he'll probably hit a home run against us.
Oh man. So yeah, they're asking about this Cubbies lineup. Does that increase Taj Bradley? And I think it does a little bit.
Yep.
But
I think it helps, but I still think he's very, very expensive for somebody that has no leash. So I say that you should still temper your expectations, but I think it does help him a little bit for sure.
Give me the summary as far as pitchers. We're gonna talk stacks, individual players, and all that good stuff. Let's see. We have about 20 minutes until you guys get the return of Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. You get TJ Zwarych. You get TJ presumably with Spidey. So hit that like button. You get those Spidey bombs coming in once he jumps on the show. Hit the like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Do all the things to help us keep the lights on here on a Monday. I was going to say Monday morning, Monday afternoon. It's not. What's in between morning and afternoon? Is there something? It's not morning, but it's not afternoon technically. What time is 11:50?
I just call that brunch, Dean. I just call that brunch. That's
you a big brunch guy?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. But brunch, you lean breakfast though, right? I think you lean breakfast over brunch.
Yeah. Definitely. Bloody Marys. Definitely. Yeah.
Oh, you put the hot sauce in there too?
Not as much as some other people do, but I do like to dabble a little hot sauce. For sure.
Celery? Pro celery? Celery
stick? Just for looks. I mean, it's I don't know. It always comes with celery. I could do without it.
Chuck is giving the hard sell, by the way, that Oakland is not the worst team in the playoffs. Like, okay, yes, and like they have made the playoffs in 18, 19, and 20, and good for them. And they're a fun team to root for because, like, I'm always impressed by the overachievers, but I think they're the worst team in the league. The argument that they're in a tough division and the division consists of, I don't know, man. I appreciate the fandom. The fans do deserve better, but I think they're the worst team in baseball.
I think they're definitely the worst. All right, so for pitchers, it's obviously Eovaldi as your SP1 in cash games. He's my favorite. I mean, I would definitely get overweight him in tournaments also. I think he's the clear obvious choice. I think he's good chalk. I know that sounds a little bit weird, but I'm going to go with it. Now, SP2 is where things get a little bit more difficult. We need to hear what Roth has to say about this Cleveland-Baltimore game. That has a big, big effect on this slate. We don't necessarily need those guys for FanDuel, but for DK, SP2, I do have interest in Logan Allen and Tyler Wells. So let's see if those games are okay for pitching. If they are, I think I like Tyler Wells for cash games as my SP2. If that game is not safe, I'm probably going to go down to JB France. That Minnesota lineup looks a little bit watered down. No Buxton. I know that there's some value pieces, and France is, he's not the most consistent pitcher, but that's what this slate kind of is. There's not really like a blue chip guy that we can really lean on for safety. So if we can't do Wells, I say go JP France. I think there's an argument that to be had. You could go Sonny Gray also, but I'd rather just take the savings and get a couple more bats with JP France. For tournaments, I think Taj Bradley is firmly in play. I'm not really in on Stroman on either site. I think he would be somebody I would get underweight on. And then I think Matthew Boyd would be interesting to take a couple shots on for GPPs.
For what it's worth, consensus value rankings amongst myself, Justin Carlucci, the Luch, Keith Eister, Head Chopper. We have the same 6 pitchers, by the way. So we have to rank 6. We rank the same 6 guys. There's nobody off the board. It goes Eovaldi, Gray, Bradley, France, Stroman, Wells. So that's kind of where we're at consensus-wise.
I would boost Wells up. That would be my only thing, and I'd probably bring Stroman down. That would be my take on that. That's just my opinion, though.
Yeah. As far as consensus rankings when it comes to stacks today, number one consensus value ranking team is St. Louis. St. Louis is number one. Arizona number two. Texas number three. Baltimore number four. KC, Minnesota. And I was the only person to rank Houston, just kind of betting on talent. I have Houston in my top five. Nobody else did. Is anybody too high? Is anybody too low? Would you put St. Louis number one? I think you have Arizona number one. If you said
I'd put Arizona number one. I'd put St. Louis number two. I'd probably put, just maybe not for raw points, but for salary relief, I'd probably put KC number three. Not maybe, like I said, not for raw points, but just because they're cheap. I think they're in a really amazing spot. So I really like Kansas City today. I like your call in Houston. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think that's fine for large field GPPs. No, I mean, you're right, though. I mean, super talented.
I don't necessarily agree with it either, but I just betting on talent.
Right. I mean, I think if I'm betting on talent, I think I'm going to take a shot on Tampa Bay. That's just my take. But and I also think that Colorado's kind of interesting today.
Yeah. Build a Colorado stack. Just like I have a hard time doing it. It's like a mini stack, like a 3-man or something like that.
I would prefer doing it as a mini. Yeah. And also I do want to note their prices on FanDuel are just insanely cheap. So it's like I know that they're not good, but it's a pretty decent matchup. Pretty much all of them are under 3K. So they're that team that's like just there if you need them, right? Like if you're obviously, you're probably going to be paying up for Eovaldi, you need to get some sort of value bats in there, and I think that they're interesting.
Some of the value bats that are kind of popping, like Nick Pratto leading off for Kansas City. I don't know how excited you are about that, but he is leading off for Kansas City. He's pretty cheap. They have both catchers in there today. I guess Sal Perez probably DHing is designated hitting because he's batting third, but Freddie Fermin is batting seventh. He's pretty cheap as well. I just can't stoop and ever roster Nicky Lopez. If he beats me, so be it. There were some other cheapies that were kind of popping earlier. We talked about Royce Lewis. 2K is specifically on DK. Is he in the FanDuel pool? Let's see. He's 2K on FanDuel as well. I find that 2K is more useful on DK than I do on FanDuel. Just kind of the way builds work. Yeah. It doesn't mean it's not useful, but more useful on DK, correct?
Yes, definitely.
Let me see. I'm trying to see the other kind of cheapies that made stuff work as far as hitting lineups. Yeah, Pratto was hitting a ton of optimals. Do we feel good about chalky Nick Pratto? I guess you're playing cash today. Is Pratto in your cash lineup leading off today?
Probably for cash, but man, do I not really feel comfortable about that. Even in cash. And I mean, he's going to be pretty highly owned across the board, and I really don't love it.
Is he a big pinch hit guy if a lefty comes in? I'm trying to think if that's something that, or do you think he sticks around the entire game? I'm curious what Cardi has when it comes to his pinch hit projections, but I feel like it's possible at least. I guess it's always possible, but
no, it's only 4% for Pratto. Massey is the one that has 22% risk.
That's what I was. Okay, I knew there was at least one guy in case.
Massey's the one that is the real risky one to be pinch hit for.
Is that the biggest pinch hit risk on the entire slate? Is there something I'm not thinking of? There's probably something I'm not thinking of, right?
I'll check.
I just pulled it up. Rios. Oh yeah, Rios. Big pinch hit risk there for Chicago. Bubba Thompson. These Texas outfielders can get the hook for sure. They have a bunch of them. It seems like James McCann. If a situation comes up, I'm not sure if McCann. I guess he's actually catching. Yeah. So like if a situation warrants it, pretty decent chance. If it's 4-4, bottom of the eighth, bases loaded, and McCann's up, I feel pretty good chance that Rushman's going to take that at bat, right? I would assume. Yes. Is that fair to say? I would assume.
Yeah.
Julien, the prospect there for Minnesota, kind of a pinch at risk. The Gallo one's kind of weird. We've always seen him as a pinch at risk. Pavin Smith, if he hits that Arizona lineup, has a chance to get the hook if a lefty comes in. But it's a small slate. I try not to freak out about this stuff too much, but just sort of worth noting. Barnhart's another guy 35%. Now they can pinch hit for him either with Gomes or somebody else, and then just throw Gomes in there. Burleson is another guy we've seen get the hook for St. Louis before, and a lefty comes in.
I would say
yeah.
Pavin Smith is somebody to keep an eye out for, because like if he's batting leadoff, he's going to be really, really popular. And like, do you play a guy with such high pinch hit risk in cash games? In this particular slate on this day, I say yes. But it's just something to be aware, like in your Arizona stacks or tournaments also, because he could very well get the hook.
Two lefties in that Colorado bullpen. Do fire off your questions. We're here for the next 10 minutes until we yield to crunch time. Chief meteorologist Kevin Roth. He's back. He's back from his vacation. You get TJ Zwarych. You get Spidey Bombs. That's why you're hitting that like button. Do hit the like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications as well. We get Dave Potts. Dave Potts Cheese is good. Do we have a scouting report on Drew Waters? What do you know about Drew Waters off the dome? I can pull up a. I don't have a lot off the dome.
I've got nothing. I've got nothing off the top of my head.
24 years old, second round pick for Atlanta in the amateur draft in 2017. According to Fangraphs, or at least I think at the start of the season, he was the 11th ranked prospect. Some speed, a 60 speed, 55 power. So some power, some speed as well. Let's see what we've seen in the minor leagues. This year in 58 AAA games, 2 homers, 2 stolen bases, 22% strikeouts. The bat projects him for 8 homers, 8 stolen bases in a 339 game sample, and striking out at 30%. So, if you like Adam Wainwright, maybe he can strike out Waters. He is a switch hitter for what it's worth, so maybe that solidifies the spot, makes him less likely to get pinch hit for. But I assume there's a couple regulars, at least one regular, that's not playing for KC today. Melendez, who's not playing today that should be playing today for KC, or is that's resting? I can't quite figure it out just staring at the lineup. They got rid of Dozier.
Olivares.
Yeah. I mean, he's cheap. There's a scouting report, and I could have just said that. Drew Waters is cheap, and, it's baseball, and you never really know. Yeah. Maurice in chat says Acuna will be the best leadoff hitter of all time. Yeah, you know what? He is awesome. The power speed combination. That's he's just basically starting to lead off. But I guess he hit lead off some last year. Love Acuna. Just love the Braves every single day. I'm not really sure what inspired a Brady Anderson shout out, but there you go. Shout out to Brady Anderson, who once hit, I think, 49 home runs as a rookie for Baltimore. Was it his rookie year? Like 1989? Remember Brady Anderson, the sideburns back in the day?
Oh, yeah. I definitely remember Brady Anderson, but I don't remember what he did his rookie year.
Terrence wants to know which stack you like better, Texas or Arizona?
Arizona's going to be higher owns. I still like Arizona more, but they're both very strong.
I'm being corrected. It was 50 home runs for Brady Anderson. All right, my bad. And it wasn't his rookie year, but it was maybe like his contract year, because was he officially hit with a PED thing, Brady Anderson? It certainly was an outlier year for him.
Yeah, there's definitely rumors. I don't know if they were ever confirmed or not. I don't know.
And it ended up being a big time outlier for him. But do you have any homers for the people? I know I don't. You don't have a home run gimmick. You don't like fun. You don't like any sort of like a fun way of saying this is the guy that's going to homer today. Anybody that you think is, and you feel free to be as ambitious as you want to be. Is Jose Abreu going to homer in back-to-back games? Is that going to happen? Is that possible? We're going to double down on that, or now he got one out of the way and he's not going to homer again for the rest of the season? Who's going yard? Who's going to hit a homer today?
Let's go with Paul DeJong.
Okay.
And I like Christian Walker and Gurriel. Those are going to be kind of popular, I think, but I like both those guys. They hit a home run.
I like Walker a good bit too. How do you feel about Gallo? Gallo leading off today versus JP France. I prefer righties in that ballpark, but like Gallo, who cares? When he gets a hold of it, doesn't matter what ballpark you're in. And I like him leading leadoff. The bat saying there's a chance he gets the hook if a lefty comes in, but otherwise decent chance at 5 ABs. Gallo feels like a guy that's kind of sort of like, I know it's a weird, he's not your prototypical, it depends how you build lineups, but it feels like he's like a fringy cash game play is what I was getting at.
No.
Is he somebody no?
Gallo's
You don't think
not,
so?
No, I don't agree with that. Not for
Okay.
cash. I'm fine with a home run call. I'm fine with playing him in tournaments, but I wouldn't play him in cash.
Pretty good price, leading off on the road. JP France, we're not afraid of him. Okay.
I'm thinking about playing France in cash, Dean.
You could, well, okay, that's a good question. Can you play a hitter against your pitcher? I think you can. Nobody's going to drop the clean sheet today.
I think you can in cash. I think that kind of hurts your ceiling a little bit in tournaments, but yeah, I think you can do it.
Tampa lineup just came out, by the way. According to Mr. Richard, there's no Josh Lowe and no Paredes. Let's see. Let me give the old refresh and just confirm.
No,
give the rundown.
Josh Lowe's in there.
Well, you know, this is what happens when you read chat. Sometimes they're correct. We got Diaz, Franco, Lau, Arozarena, Lowe, Walls, Raleigh, Betancourt, and Siri. Houston lineup just came out. Anything goofy here? Altuve, Pena, Alvarez, Bregman, Tucker, Abreu, Myers, Debon, and Maldonado. So, like, no Jolks and no nobody that's really that important, right? So this another one of those, their fringe outfielders.
McCormick.
I couldn't get to the name. That's who it was. Yes, Jared Abreu did homer. I did not see video evidence for the record, but I did see it apparently did happen. I assume the internet didn't lie to me in this one. I assume it actually did happen. I assume it wasn't like an inside the Parker with like, you know, outfielders colliding or something goofy like that. Let's see. Other questions. Tim, do you like Perdomo for cash? Is Perdomo somebody you're looking at? Probably
not for cash, but I maybe as a last piece, but batting 9 in cash games is not something that I really want to seek out. But I do love him for tournaments for sure.
Yeah, we don't know for sure he's batting 9, but he's projected to bat 9. And that's kind of like the point I was getting at. Like Gallo's got a pretty decent shot at 5, right? Assuming he doesn't get the hook at some point. And this is just kind of not that I'm saying to play Gallo, but just we're talking about Perdomo at home in the 9 spot. If Arizona wins this game, like 5-2, there's a very real chance like Perdomo gets only 3 at bats. They lose their 9th inning. And like
if you're looking for
5 is huge.
If you're looking for a shortstop in cash games, it's probably Royce Lewis.
It might be. Is that the thing? Is there's kind of an opportunity cost at shortstop. Witt, Correa, you mentioned DeYoung. I like Seager in tournaments, so you're not going to play him in cash left on left. Franco's good, but he's kind of expensive. Is Lewis the guy that's kind of opening stuff up for you? Have you settled as far as your cash lineup?
I haven't made it yet, but I would say he's a very, very serious contender.
Yeah, they're going to go around the horn in crunch time in a few minutes and give their favorite plays position by position. Just kind of looking at, you know, this is a conversation we don't have a lot of. We just kind of like an overview as far as the slate. Is there a position that looks stronger than it typically does or weaker than it typically does? Second base is typically pretty weak, but I think Gorman's a pretty strong play. I like Marte a good bit. I think you like Marte as well. You like those D-backs. Yeah. Is there some sort of position that stands out to you or some sort of like strategy, even like when it comes to your cash game lineup, you want to make sure you have, if not the premier bat, like a good bat because the position's especially strong.
It's a good call by you. Second base is like unusually loaded today. Usually second base is absolutely awful. I'm trying to think of like priority plays for cash. I would say, you know, we're waiting on that Arizona lineup, but definitely Corbin Carroll is definitely going to be in your cash team lineup. If Pavin Smith is batting leadoff, I say still play him despite the pinch hit risk. And then I'm trying to think like if there's any other like weird outliers that I don't know. Like, no, not really. I don't think other than second base is much stronger than it usually is.
You playing Newt Bar in cash?
You know, I'm thinking about that too. Yeah, like cash games, people always want to say how stale they are. Like I think there's like really, really hard decisions to make in cash, and kind of like running the optimals and understanding like what your opponents are going to be doing, and then trying to like make those 2v2s or 3v3s. I think there's a lot of. I think they're more creative than people think, at least in baseball.
I agree. Some days I like making those hard decisions. Some days I don't. Today I didn't want to make those hard decisions. I just didn't play it. And
see,
some days, go ahead.
I'd much rather play cash on days where it's harder. You know, like the days that I know like what everybody's gonna play, I think are like the boring days. But on days where it's like not as straightforward, are the days that I actually want to play cash games.
I also like it when like optimals are showing something a little bit different than I think, which is like, I guess it could be really good or really bad depending on how it plays out. But like, sometimes I have the I know better thought process, but sometimes I do and sometimes I don't, and that's just how it goes. And there's other times where it's, you know, there's like 7 good pitchers, and it's like I don't know which 2 of these 7 I'm going to roster in cash. It's so good. But we got crunch time here. We have Chief Mineralogist Kevin Roth.
Who do we have?
Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth is back, and it's not a coincidence. He's wearing a green shirt despite having a green screen behind him, but I assume it's green to represent the fact he's coming back from Ireland.
Where they have no razors, but
they have apparently they have no razor. They have no razors in Europe,
good, right? Yeah,
you look amazing.
I went beard vacation. I got to do it. You can't shave on vacation. Who does that?
You didn't shave for the wedding?
No, I didn't.
We just got an update, Roth. We'll talk about we got a weather update. Apparently, it's a little bit better in Baltimore. You'll talk about that in a second. But the people are going to want to know, like, you have any bullet points? You got your thought process of you're writing a review. Are we pro Ireland? We have a good time there. I assume everything went well.
Many beers. Some of them are very warm, and that's weird. That was odd to me. I prefer drinking them very cold. And then fish and chips. People hate on fish and chips. They're like, oh, that's like famously crappy, like pub food. Fish and chips is freaking delicious. There shall be no hating on fish and chips. And that was pretty much it. That's all I did was drink beer and eat fish and chips. So
Guinness the chalk.
Yeah, I'm not really a dark beer drinker, but when in Rome, when in Ireland. So yeah, I had more than my fair share. And by the end of the trip, I was like, these are going down a little smoother. I'm starting to get it. So I enjoyed it.
I've never been, but the people seem fun. Everything I've seen from people that are from Ireland, they seem like a very pleasant, like funny, good banter in Ireland.
Yes, they love a good chat. They're a chatty folk. They're funny, and I also went to England, and it's like they're the opposite. they're like, yeah, get out of my pub, you ass. No, I didn't even do anything. All right, but yeah, it was a great trip. So appreciate getting able to take some time off and getting to do that. It was wonderful.
Yeah, welcome back. We have TJ and Dave Potts as well. TJ, how are things in your world? Or anything eventful worth noting, or shall we just myself and Tim just get out of here and let you guys do your thing?
Early Monday morning for me, but other than that, nothing too eventful. I don't know if it's because it's the finale, Dean, but the Ted Lasso screeners have not come in.
Oh,
so I'm not sure if they're just not showing us the finale early.
They shouldn't. You're going to spoil it.
I'm still waiting on those. No, we're not going to spoil it. I've been promoting it all season without releasing a review too early. Why would I start now? But no, it seems like that maybe what they're worried about for people, and it seems like they're keeping it locked under key until it drops.
I think it makes sense. Obviously, it's not you; it's nothing personal, but it kind of does make sense. You can only have so many people have the get to watch that. And speaking of that, should have asked Dave. I know Dave, you're a fan of Barry. Did you watch the Barry finale last night?
No. I'm always at least a few days behind.
All right, stay off Twitter just in case.
Okay. Will do.
But just as a general rule, probably stay off Twitter.
Yeah, Barry or no Barry. That's a great advice.
Do what you want to do, but yeah. All right. Tim, anything else for the boys before you step aside and get out of here?
Nope. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you. Thank you to producer Steve producing the show. Don't thank Steve enough. Appreciate Steve, as always. The Fanduel sponsor, Crunch Time, starring Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. You got TJ as well, and Dave Potts. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff. As always, welcome to it, and a nice welcome back for me. It's good to be back here. Joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz on Crunch Time, sponsored by FanDuel. We got Dave Potts, the multi-million-dollar winner. Cheese, what's up, man?
Not much. It's just obviously a pleasure to have you back in, we'll say, certainly the country, the continent, if you will, on behalf of TJ.
But yeah, that's good. Good job. Yeah, apparently while I was gone, I think the weather was like as easy as it could have been.
It wasn't. Yeah,
there
was really not too much that was a problem. So you picked a good week for it.
All right, good. I'm glad I timed that out well. I was kind of hoping it'd be a shit show and it would go horribly. That way everyone would be like, without Roth, we cannot exist. But no, nice weather is good for everybody. We got TJ as well. TJ, what's happening, brother?
Doing well. Ready for some daytime baseball. Just running one lineup today. Not going crazy with 150 because I slept in a little bit. But it's nice to have you back, man. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you as well. I did see your hometown, kind of, sort of, as I was flying over Canada, looking at the little, the map deal. Saskatoon was one of like the featured cities, and you could click on Saskatoon, and it would tell you all about Saskatoon. So obviously, I thought of you. I was like, that's my guy. That's my guy, TJ. That's a legit city there in Saskatoon.
Heck yeah, it's the biggest city in Saskatchewan, chilling with almost 300,000 people. But
yeah, I didn't realize that. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize that it was that big. So that was cool. It made me happy. Anyways, I'm glad to be back at it, and I'm glad that the weather is kind of quiet today. Today's just like a chance for a delay in one game. That game is Baltimore, and I'm hoping you guys tell me you only want hitters anyways.
I mean, both pitchers are in play, but they're not like the primary two. But they once you start spreading out, I mean, they're very much in the thick of the pool.
Yeah.
But not like cash game plays, not like something you're planning your day around.
Gotcha. I won't call you crazy for playing a pitcher there, but I do think it's the only thing that could happen that could go weather wrong is playing a pitcher in that game because there's a chance for a delay.
What kind of chance we thinking?
I think there's probably like a 30 or 40% chance of a delay, and I would take a gander to say I would guess that would be mid or later innings, though certainly possible at any point. So a decent chance of a delay, and even if they do get a delay, it's possible it could be, late enough that it doesn't matter for pitchers. But just keep in mind, that's the only spot that could go wrong. I do expect, regardless of a delay, the game will play, kind of based on what I'm seeing on radar now. With that out of the way, I think we can just dive into some of that good content that the people want. And Cheese, if you don't mind giving me a little rundown, that would be excellent.
I don't mind at all. The big picture is I've got three offenses that are pretty clearly ahead of everything else. Although everything after that is close-ish and jumbled. So I think you can make a case to spread out as much as you want. But basically Arizona, St. Louis, and Texas are very clearly top of the board. We should have I don't know if chalk is quite the right word, but Nathan Eovaldi is kind of the clear top pitcher. Should be the popular guy. I think it's going to be more spread out than I originally thought, which is great for me as far as an SP2 on the DK side or a cheaper SP on the Fanduel side. But I do have a favorite that we will talk about.
Okay, very good. TJ, is there anything you want to add to kind of the overview of the slate, or you just want to get into things?
No, that's very similar. I'm ready to dive into it. We are 11 likes away from our first Spidey Bomb, so keep smashing that like button. And then we got a second one coming for the people. If we get up to 150 likes, shouldn't be a problem. We got over 300 people watching. So hit that like button, and we'll have some Spidey Bombs coming.
Okay, should be easy to get there. Should note, this show is sponsored by FanDuel. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. If you are in a legal sports betting state, take advantage of their awesome bonus offer. New customers get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets. I did this when I was signing up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Made a bunch of money. It was very fun, very enjoyable. Make sure that you're doing that. Terms and conditions do apply. Also have a Spike Week plug. It's a best ball community, and I'll give you more info on that later. But I'm very interested in this best ball thing. Maybe we'll have a little chat about best ball after this. But Cheese, let's dive into some baseball. Why don't you give me a kind of a rundown on what you want to do pitcher-wise?
So we have basically two expensive pitchers. We have Eovaldi and we have Sonny Gray. And then on FanDuel, Stroman is up there pricing-wise with them. Eovaldi's facing the Tigers. and Sonny Gray is facing the Astros, and that's kind of all there is to that. Now, I will semi-begrudgingly point out that Sonny Gray, like that one, he had one like best pitcher of all time start in his career, and it was just a few weeks ago against the Astros. If you are a game log watcher, it's hard not to notice that. Mm-hmm. And theoretically, it still is like it really is the right kind of matchup for Sonny Gray. He's real good against righties and not so good against lefties. And the Astros are basically just the two big lefties and then a bunch of righties. So I'm not going to tell you that Sonny Gray is a bad play. I'm just going to tell you that I just vastly prefer Eovaldi. I just think he's a better real life pitcher, and in this matchup, a better DFS pitcher. But sure, you can play some Sonny Gray. I mean, I have a little bit of Sonny Gray because I am MMEing today. But to me, Eovaldi's the guy. Once you get past those two, it jumbles up pretty good. And I think it jumbles up with ownership. But to me, JP France is the guy. Oui, as they say. He's only 7,000 on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, he's 8,200. While most of the other guys you'd consider are in right around 10K. The exceptions to that are Matt Boyd and Adam Wainwright. I don't know if you need to be convinced that Matthew Boyd and Adam Wainwright have a ton of risk, but they do. That's just kind of who they are at this point. So for me, I just want JP France against the Twins way more than I want those other guys. Mm-hmm. But then with that sort of group we left out in the upper mid tier, Marcus Stroman and Taj Bradley going against each other in Chicago. It's a decent pitching day there. They're both fine, but I don't love them at the salaries. Like I don't like them any better than I like JP France, basically is what it comes down to. And then we have Logan Allen and Tyler Wells, who are the two in that Baltimore game. If you don't worry about the weather risk, I do like those two ahead of Stroman and Bradley. And officially, Logan Allen is my third highest owned pitcher.
Okay, very good. TJ, I feel like that was a lot of – I'm sorry. Let me go back. Cheese, is that your entire pool, both FanDuel and DK, or is there some differences?
Pretty sure I mentioned everybody. And it's a very similar pool. It's just a little harder to get to Eovaldi on FanDuel. But JP France is the go-to cheaper guy for me.
Okay, very good. TJ, that was a lot of pitchers here. Are there any that, would make your pool if you were MMEing today that were not named, or anyone that you don't want on that list?
So it's a bit of a different case on the two sites for me. On FanDuel, where yes, Eovaldi's priced up, but I just don't really like any of the prices of the other guys either. I think I'd be keeping a pretty tight pool. I'd be running like at least double the field on Eovaldi. I'd be trying to get bare minimum about 60%. And then I think the only other four guys in my pool on FanDuel would be France and then Wainwright, Nelson, and Boyd, just because they're such a completely different price range than everybody else. It would allow me to get some totally different types of lineups with my bats. So I think I'd be trying to go about 60% Eovaldi with cheap stacks, and then load up on some bats with my other four teams with France, Wainwright, Nelson, and Boyd. On DraftKings, I'm more willing to spread it out a little bit because some of these prices aren't quite as high as some of these other guys. But Eovaldi, I still think it would probably be near a lock button for me, and I would just be more willing to spread out my SP2s. On DraftKings, I'm with Cheese that JP France is going to be my favorite SP2. And then, believe it or not, I think my second favorite actually is just taking a shot on Matthew Boyd at $100 cheaper.
Gotcha. All right. Very good. Well, let's kick it over to some of the bats, some of the stacks. And TJ, I will let you lead us off there. Is there chalk? And what are you doing here stack-wise?
There's not any crazy chalk for how small of a slate it is, really. I'm looking at Arizona as my top slate, and I think as my top stack, and I think they probably are going to be the chalkiest one, but it is really quite spread out around St. Louis and Texas in terms of ownership. And for a 6-game slate, nothing's really that bad. Like nothing's standing out as like, this is egregious and I want to be getting a big pivot off of it. So Arizona is going to be my personal top stack. Like Cheese talked about how there's those 3 teams in a tier 1 in the musings. For me, it's kind of like Arizona is my tier 1, St. Louis and Texas are my tier 2. And then these other teams that are close are kind of like my tier 3. So very similar. I'm just putting Arizona up above everybody else a little bit. And then Tampa Bay, Chicago, and Baltimore are probably my next 3 favorites.
Very good. Cheese, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the 3 teams that I mentioned right off the top are very far ahead of the field. Arizona is also first on my list, and then Rangers, Cardinals. But yeah, that same group of teams, like it's all pretty jumbled up. I've got Tampa and the Royals as my next 2 favorites, but certainly willing to stack anything on this kind of slate.
Okay.
I'm
not sure if that was Godzilla or one of your cats. I assume one of your cats is the answer here.
We're having a day with the animals already this morning. It's only 10:30 my time, and I've already had a full day with these guys. The Foster's been around for a while, and he's getting adopted in the next few days. But the other animals are just like, all right, I want my space back. So right as the show started, Obi-Wan just took a crap on the floor right behind me, and so this room smells so bad. And now Shadow the cat has been jumping from the desk to the window, and back and forth, just causing an earthquake every time. We're having fun.
Okay, I did not know that one of the cats was named Obi-Wan, and
that's a dog. That's a dog.
Oh, that's the dog. Okay, well, that's even worse for the poop in the middle of the floor for sure. Okay, let's get some lineups here that are not dog poo poo. Let's go around the horn. And Cheese, why don't you start us off with a little catcher?
Yeah, let's do catcher. Always exciting. It's really not too bad because Sal Perez is a very strong play. Wilson Contreras and Jonah Heim are not cheap, but very mid-rangey, around 4K on DraftKings. I do think you want to include Perez at least in your Fanduel player pool as well. But all the cheap catchers are pretty much just on the DK side. I would probably play Freddie Fermin as the punt. But Gabriel Moreno, still waiting on the Arizona lineup, but he would probably be next in line for me. But yeah, Perez, Contreras, Heim, the very clear top 3.
Okay. TJ, you got any names to add there?
I really like Moreno today, and then Perez and Heim are kind of right there with him in terms of who I want to be getting to. And outside of that, it's really just only players I'm getting to in my stacks.
All right, first base.
For what it's worth, I will say I just don't like Wilson Contreras. He's just looked so bad. Like he's just looked so bad, and I wanna wait a little bit to see him figure some stuff out before I start going there. But first base, we have over 100 likes, so we got the first Spidey bomb. Not very sneaky, but I do really like his odds from a betting standpoint. 35 more likes, we got Spidey bomb number 2. I'll get much sneakier with this one. But for the first one, it is my favorite first baseman, and it's Christian Walker. You can find him for plus 470 on FanDuel. I really like those odds. $4,400 on DraftKings. He's $1,000 cheaper than Goldschmidt, my top option by a very wide margin. Even on FanDuel where he's 3,300, like I just think that's a must play today. My second favorite from a tournament standpoint is probably Vinny Pasquantino, and then I do really like Josh Naylor for tournaments as well. Goldschmidt's fine. Pavin Smith I'd rather play in the outfield. Ryan Mountcastle, very strong play today as well. But Christian Walker is by far my favorite.
Cheese.
Christian Walker by far my favorite as well. And Goldschmidt, the other obvious guy. Like I love those two. And then Mountcastle and Vinny P are the other two. Kind of going out of my way to play.
Okay, second base.
Oh baby.
Oh
baby. Have you
baby.
missed second base?
Oh, I want to know all about how.
I feel like you were just
today
walking around with Ireland, going, "Man, who is playing second base tonight?"
I wonder who we can roster at second.
It's actually not as bad today as you will remember from before you left.
It's weirdly good.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened all of a sudden. Like, so Ketel Marte for the salary, I think, is one of the better plays on the slate. Semien is super expensive on both sites. but still a very interesting play if you can get up there. Nolan Gorman looks fantastic. You want Brandon Lau and TB Stacks? TB Stacks. Might have said Tampa Bay, but we'll call him TB Stacks. Assuming Altuve will be leading off for Houston, I like him pretty much only in stacks as well. There's decent cheap stuff like Michael Massey is a pretty great play, at least on DK. But Semien Marte Gorman, that's really unusually good for second base.
Yeah. All right, TJ.
Yeah, Semien Marte Gorman. It's fantastic. All three of those guys I love. Marte is the one I'm prioritizing, but I am debating fading him and going with one of these other guys just on the basis of I really want, like, I know I'm playing 5 Arizona players, but second base is so strong that I don't like the other positions. I'd rather just stack up some Arizona guys in there and then use one of these other second basemen I really like as well. So on FanDuel, where there's an $800 difference between Gorman and Marte, I talked about how much I'm prioritizing Eovaldi over there, so I do need to save salary. Marte is my top one by a fairly wide margin at $800 cheaper than Gorman and $1,200 cheaper than Semien. On DraftKings, where Marte and Gorman are only $100 apart, that's really where I'm having a tough time deciding between the two of them. I think I like Marte a little bit better, but having said that, considering I want to be stacking 5 Arizona players in my single entry team anyways, I am considering going Gorman ahead of him because of how many other guys I like there. Julian batting second for Minnesota, I think is interesting if you got to save some salary. But outside of that, it's really just those top 3 guys for me.
Okay. TJ, take me to third and let me know how many likes away we are from your sneakier Spidey bomb.
25 more likes, so keep smashing that like button. We got lots of people in this room. We can get there easily. Hit that like button. At third, my favorite by a pretty wide margin is Josh Jung. Nolan Arenado probably comes in second. I am still waiting to see who's batting third, if it's Josh Rojas or who for Arizona today when that lineup comes out. And you do have Willie Castro, who's projecting well in the bats if you got to save some salary. But Josh Jung is my favorite here by a fairly wide margin, with Nolan Arenado second. And then I think Jose Ramirez makes for a very interesting tournament play.
Cheese.
Yeah, basically the same guys. I guess Jose Ramirez is borderline sneaky, maybe compared to Young and Arenado. So I mean, yeah, play some Ramirez for sure. Most everything else is probably in a stack. Although I don't know if we mentioned him a second, but Ryan McMahon on FanDuel for 2,600 is a very interesting salary saver on the FanDuel side. The cheap stuff on the DK side is much less interesting and more kind of in stacks only. I think you're allowed to do Willie Castro if you really need it, but I'd rather not.
Okay, shortstop, Cheese.
Bobby Witt, Wander Franco, Corey Seager. Awesome. I think Corey Seager, overlooked is not the right word, but just because it's lefty, I think if people start building like Texas mini stacks, they'll probably leave Seager out, and don't be that jabroni. I do like Witt better, just straight up. Franco, I guess I prefer more in stacks, but all 3 of those guys are great. Paul DeYoung and Carlos Correa, right around 4K on DraftKings. You could also punt all the way to pure minimum salary with Royce Lewis batting 5th for Minnesota at minimum salary. But on FanDuel, you don't need to goof around because Witt's only 33, Correa's only 29, Pena's only 29. So I would not goof around on FanDuel.
Okay. I want to add that our use of the word jabroni continuously this many years after it was a thing is still one of my favorite things about this show. So
it's not a thing still.
Oh, well, I don't think it's very common anymore, but it should still be alive, and we're doing our best to bring it back. TJ, your thoughts at shortstop?
Yeah, so all the same guys she's mentioned. I like Paul DeJong as a cheap option quite a bit. Seager, I think, is going to be my favorite guy for tournaments. And then another guy I do really like for tournaments as well is Geraldo Perdomo.
Okay. Does that bring us to the outfield? I was answering some questions here in the YouTube chat. Into the outfield, TJ.
Sure does. So from a point per dollar standpoint, Corbin Carroll is my favorite outfielder by a very, very wide margin. He's the field's favorite outfielder too. And so on DraftKings, he's not that aggressively chalky. On FanDuel, he is projecting for a whole lot of chalk at $3,500 in comparison to the other top outfielders like Alvarez, who are 44, Garcia, who's 42. So on FanDuel, Carroll and Kyle Tucker are the two guys that just stand out so far above everybody else for me for their prices. On DraftKings, it is mushed a little bit closer together. Corbin Carroll is still my favorite guy on here, but there are some other cheap ones that I'm interested in, like McCarthy and Pavin Smith. Lourdes Gurriel is somebody on it. Like all the Arizona outfielders essentially are who I'm going to be targeting there. I like MJ Melendez as a one-off or as part of a mini KC stack. And then kind of going back to FanDuel, it's really still the Arizona guys that I'm prioritizing. Joey Gallo at 3K batting leadoff. If you're not playing France is fine. I still like Melendez there as well. Austin Hayes batting second at 2,800 is quite interesting. But it's the Arizona ones that I'm primarily targeting.
Very good. Cheese, take me to the outfield. Or give me your thoughts on the outfield since we were already there.
You've already been taken there, yes. But absolutely. Carroll, Garcia, and Alvarez, and kind of Tucker are a top 3 or 4 pretty obviously. And I think they'll all be popular-ish. Anywhere you have a spend up, like those are just the guys you go to. Most of the sort of favorite cheap names are the same guys that TJ mentioned. Like on DraftKings, it's McCarthy and Melendez standing out for me. On FanDuel, McCarthy at 2,400 as well. But because, like you mentioned, because of the Carroll and Tucker salaries, you don't need to goof around that much. Guys like, I don't know, like Nick Pratto, for example, is fine, but he's much more viable on DraftKings where the salary is relevant. But like 2,900 on FanDuel is just not really that interesting when you can just go up a couple bucks to get Kyle Tucker. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we need to see that Arizona lineup before we decide. Like, who knows if Gurriel, McCarthy, and Smith are all in the lineup? They could be, but you can't just completely set it and forget it if you're on your way to the old barbecue. Other than that, maybe some cheap Texas bats, like minimum salary. Bubba Thompson is a fine punt on DK. Alec Burleson. A little bit of everything, but those are the main ones. Cheap Arizona bats with MJ Melendez.
Okay. You ever do a crawfish boil instead of the barbecue? Is that a thing for you, Cheese?
So I don't personally like crawfish, but a crawfish boil is a big thing here. And I go to a lot of crawfish boils because they entertain me and there's usually good music. And I just hang out and don't really so much eat the crawfish as just like, this is a good time here in Alabama.
Okay. That's fair. Just wanted to check. I thought maybe we were not like into that, and I wanted to, put you on it. But all right, you know what it's about.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Hey, we've done the outfield. We've done all the positions. We've talked some pitchers. We've talked some stacks. We need some home run calls, TJ.
We're 8 likes away from the second Spidey bomb, but I did see a question in the YouTube chat that I want to ask Cheese now because I heard the last guys talking about it on the show about a potential cash game option. And then there is a question about using this person as a one-off in GPPs as well. What do you think about Royce Lewis today as a potential one-off batting 5th minimum price against France?
Yeah, so assuming we're just talking DK, that would not be a FanDuel play for me. Yes, I think that's a very viable position to just save. And if you're trying to save, like if you can't get up to like Witt or Seager or something, yeah, I don't feel like you need to prioritize DeYoung or Correa in the mid-tier. So I'm completely happy with Royce Lewis, even as a cash game play. As much as I like JP France, super small sample size, but reverse splitsy so far. So the righty-righty thing is actually a plus for Lewis. And yeah, I'm on board with that.
Can I play him against JP France? Is the slate small enough?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Heck yes.
Very good.
Like you're not playing JP France for a shutout. He's going to give up a couple runs. They'll get a couple more against the bullpen.
I want 9-inning complete game, perfect game.
Yeah, that's how you would think people are living their life when you tell them they can play a batter against their pitcher. Like, how could you possibly do that? And then if you ever enjoy some tilting, just go in Discord after a pitcher gives up 1 run in the first inning and hear how dead they truly are.
Yeah. I always see it because in the chat, like some of these games will start and they'll be like, this guy sucks. He's already shelled. It's already over. And then I look at the stats and it's like,
he gets like 30 DK points. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, at that point, it's like 1 run scored, a guy on first with 2 outs. And like everyone's blowing up. Like it could still be okay at this point, guys.
You do not need a shutout in the year 2023 from your pitcher.
This is a good question from the Detox. Could you please rank your favorite Arizona bats who are most likely to get 2 or more bases? This does depend on, I guess, who's playing. We don't have the lineup yet.
If we assume that it's the lineup, yeah, that we have projected, definitely Carroll and Walker are 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by Marte. And then I don't know if he needs more than 3, but that's definitely the order.
Okay, very good. Baby screaming, baby monitors going off. This is fun. Hey, let's get some home run picks. TJ, I tried to stall a little. Have we gotten to the Spidey bomb total?
Yes, we are at 150 likes today. This is a play that I absolutely love because he's been absolutely smashing right-handed hitting so far this year. We talked about the reverse splits nature that Arizona has going up against Kaufman. Kaufman's been horrific to righties. I think Lourdes Gurriel is going to be going overlooked because of all of the other great Arizona plays today. We got some cheap lefties. We got Marte, Carroll, and Walker that we're looking to prioritize. People will probably be going to like Pavin Smith in the outfield to fill things out there, likely going lead off. And so Lourdes Gurriel Jr. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. He's got a junior at the end. Is Spidey Bomb number 2. Plus 750 to hit a home run over on Fanduel. Plus 800 now to hit a home run over on Fanduel. I love him for a bet, and I also love him as a DFS play today. So double Arizona players, Christian Walker and Lourdes Gurriel Jr.
I was originally thinking, TJ is going to just jinx Gurriel out of the lineup, but then I realized it was Spidey saying it. Spidey's going to mush him right into the lineup. So this is going to happen now.
Yeah, Spidey can't go wrong. All right, Cheese, home run pick for me.
Yeah.
Your favorite thing?
I mean, also Christian Walker, but for something other than Christian Walker, we will Nolan Gorman.
Okay, very good. Guys, we've got at least 12 minutes until lock, and I think it's 5 after the hour is when lock happens, so that would be 17 minutes. So let's take some QQs, and I am going to start scrolling around. 2 spots to watch for. Of course, get your questions in the RG Discord. That's where the cool kids are hanging out. But also, I will be on the YouTube chat. Let's scroll up just a wee bit here. FanDuel GPPs, Cheese, would you prioritize more Goldie as a one-off or Walker in an Arizona stack? I feel like everybody loves Walker.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, on FanDuel, I would prioritize playing them both. Like, use your utility spot. But no, I want Walker for sure in an Arizona stack.
Okay. We'll go to Falcor, FanDuel's single entry. This is a pitcher question here. Eovaldi or Taj Bradley? And then he just says, Cubs lineup, exclamation mark.
Eovaldi. Definitely.
All right. What does
I'm
Cubs lineup?
$100 away from the lineup I want, and that's got to be the most frustrating thing ever.
I have an extra 100. Like, do you want to just borrow it?
Yeah.
That'd be so great. I got a 5-man Arizona stack, and I'm looking to, and I got a Newt Bar in the outfield, and I'm just $100 away from Arenado.
I'll send it to you. Just get your email.
200 would give me Josh Jung. A few more would give me Ramirez, and instead it's just stuck with McMahon, and I don't really want that.
Meansy has a rule that once a season for every sport, you should be allowed just one time to get that extra $100 just when your lineup's like it's just quite not there. Once a season, you should use it. Let's see. Is Ryan Nelson viable on DK, Cheese? This is a question from Mark Vaughn in the YouTube.
Yeah, he is. Like, he's one of the pivots off of JP France. If you're not as high on the JP France train as me, it's basically Boyd, Nelson, and Wainwright, kind of just in this clump of okay cheap pivots.
Okay. Julius Mills Denty, which is a wonderful name in the YouTube chat, says, what are your thoughts, TJ, on Rocky stacks in GPPs?
Not huge on it, but if you're running 150 lineups, like something like that, I definitely think it's viable, and I would be having Rockies. But even if like I had about 20, I probably wouldn't be getting there, aside from maybe like one.
Okay. King of Smack says, question for Cheese on FanDuel. Cheese, would you play Wayno if you were playing one lineup and wanted to pay up for Texas, St. Louis, and Arizona bats?
Personally, no. I would not use Wayno in a 1 or like 3 or 5 lineup build.
Very good. Nathan, just gonna make you work for this one a little bit, TJ. For 3,000 each on FanDuel, util and outfield, who do you take? I don't know if that means you've got 6,000 total and you have to do the math, or if he literally wants a 3K or cheaper player for each spot.
Util and outfield, he's got 6K for the 2 spots.
That's what he's asking. He's got 6K for the 2 spots. I'm going to let you work on that for just a little bit. And
it depends who he has in his lineup, because the answer is make sure you get either Corbin Carroll or Kyle Tucker in there. If he doesn't have it, then we'll go cheap somewhere else. If he does have both of those guys, then I think you're looking at somebody like Austin Hayes, MJ Melendez, maybe Joey Gallo. How much is Santander on? He's 3,300, so I think he's another option there. And then in terms of a utility position, you got to get a little bit cheaper. If you got somebody right at 3K, Ketel Marte, I really love. If you can go a little bit over, then I really like going up to Vinny P.
Okay, that's enough. That's it. How much info do you want to give this guy? That's good.
But then I also got to give him a cheaper utility option, and so using somebody like Pavin Smith or Julian, I think that's where you can go.
This is just the friendliness of the Saskatooners. Just want to give out all you. Like, we care about you so much that we give you every player.
Oh, you've got one question? Let me answer it 7 different ways for you.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like, if I give them, you got to go the 2 3Ks, the high and the low, and then the high and the low the other way.
They were all good answers. Well, I'm here for it. I'm just pointing out here in America, we'd be like, yeah, go away.
Here, I'll give you 1 if you're lucky. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Best SP2 in DK single entry. This is a great question. I actually would love an answer from both of you, starting with you, Cheese. Your favorite SP2 in a DK single entry, assuming you're going with what? Eovaldi?
Eovaldi. Okay. Yeah. For me, it's definitely JP France.
Okay. TJ?
Me too.
Yep. There you go. Eovaldi France. Bonjour, mon ami. Richie Hartz says, what are your thoughts on Taj pitching at Wrigley? The winds are blowing in at Wrigley, but it's not like 50 degrees. It's 70 something. But it's still, winds are blowing in at Wrigley, which helps. You guys have interest in Taj?
A little bit. Basically, I mean, he has about as much per inning upside as anyone. But like, they've been so careful with his pitch count. Like, he's not going to probably touch 90 all year. He hasn't touched 90 yet. So like, you're really he has to be amazing to get more than 5 innings, and he's priced up. So he's in the pool, but not a priority.
Okay, that's a really good descriptive answer. Thank you. I was like, why not? Why not? But that explains it. Pitch count. DKGPP, Donovan or Pavin Smith, TJ?
Pavin Smith.
Thank you for fixing my pronunciation.
I just learned it was Pavin, not Pavin, the other day, so I've been like trying to lock that into my brain.
Pavin.
Yeah, Pavin. Yeah, I think it's Pavin. All right. Questions are rolling in now into the old RG Discord. So let me try to catch up to where we were. Here we are. FanDuel GPP, a mini Colorado mini. As it says, mini Colorado mini stack. Jeez.
That's like 2 people.
It's one guy and thinking about a second.
Yeah. I mean, I will say I definitely like Colorado better as a mini stack than a full stack. I really only particularly like Ryan McMahon. But I wouldn't argue with you for pairing him with like a, Bryant or Diaz or Grichuk or something. So sure. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. TJ, best shortstop DK Cash.
Either going cheap to O'Neal or I honestly like going all the way up to Corey Seager.
Okay. Just looking at
Bobby Witt Jr. is the projection answer, though.
Just looking at radar around Camden. There's a batch popping up. It's going to be close. Just, decent chance of a delay, but I don't know. Can't tell you. And we're 5 minutes from lock, 10 minutes from lock, and chance for a delay. That's all I got. Edman or Perdomo, FanDuel GPP. Cheese.
Perdomo. Just make sure before the Cardinals game starts that we have an Arizona lineup to confirm that he's in there.
Great. MT Red Sox. What are your thoughts on Gray for tournaments in a DK GP? What are your thoughts on Gray for tournaments on DK SP2? I read that horribly, but that's the question. And
before I answer, I think I could be wrong. Sometimes I'm wrong, but didn't MT Red Sox take down the big one like yesterday? I believe so. And so we should ask you, but congrats.
Hey, congrats.
Really Gray is a pretty good tournament pivot because of the ownership on Eovaldi. If you can pair them both together, I mean, I do have a little bit of him and I totally get it. I just don't love it personally.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. You're going to scroll up
third base today.
You hate third
because of that $100. If he had $100, he'd love it.
Yeah.
Like, so right now, the build I like best. It has Jose Ramirez and Austin Hayes as the last two pieces, but I just really don't like locking in two players at that 11:05 game in my single entry, considering I have an Arizona stack, and I would have $0 remaining in my salary if I roll that way. And I don't like the lack of flexibility that gives me, considering Arizona is the stack that I'm going with.
I can see why that is a problem. Yeah. All right, King of Smack question. Cheese. KC strikes out a lot as well. I'm just going to read it as is. Question for Cheese. But KC strikes out a lot as well and is not all good. So do you think that his price on FanDuel, Wainwright, could at least give you 5 innings, 5 Ks, maybe 1 or 2 runs? So there's a follow-up to the Waino question.
5 innings, 1 or 2 runs is definitely very possible, if not likely. I don't know if 1 or 2 runs. 5 innings, 2 or 3 runs is probably the most likely outcome, which is totally fine. Mm-hmm. Like, he has struck out barely more batters than me this season, and I kind of need to see it before I trust it. Like, he's so old that when someone who's essentially my age drops off a cliff, like, I need to see him start to climb back up.
Yeah.
Because I know I couldn't do it. Like, I put one arm up there and I just fall back down.
Yeah, I know. When you get to a certain age, you don't rebound. You just keep going the wrong way.
But as far as innings, like, he still has the leash. I mean, if you're just saying, does he get 5 innings? Absolutely, he gets 5 innings. Yeah. Could get 6 or 7, really.
Right. And he can be good enough to keep the runs low, but he just probably doesn't have the K upside that you want.
He needs BABIP to help him.
Yeah. All right. Question for Cash, TJ, on FanDuel. Who do you like at short? I feel like we maybe had this question, but FanDuel.
FanDuel short Bobby Witt Jr. at $3,300 is my favorite.
Very good. All right. Spidey Bomb recap. It's at the bottom. It was Christian Walker as the Chalky and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. for a little sneaky pick there. Got 5 minutes here until lock. FanDuel. Is there a glitch with Wells' ceiling projection? It has like 94 points. That seems unlikely.
Lock him in.
Yeah, right.
I'm going to say, his floor, I just noticed, is -32. I mean, he can be bad, but that's probably pushing it. I would maybe.
This is the new Robbie Ray with just maximum ceiling and floor potential.
Got to play him in a GPP with those kind of numbers, guys.
We're going to go with yes as the answer to is there a glitch?
Yeah, I do believe that is something wrong. Falcor says FanDuel single entry pitcher Eovaldi or Nelson and all the bats and release the hounds. I feel like we're kind of on team Eovaldi, right?
Eovaldi.
Yeah, I think that's where we're at.
We're on team I want Arizona's lineup.
Yeah, that's a great team to be on. Maybe the Arizona team themselves could get on that team.
I'd love team. I want Arizona's lineup so that I can choose to stack, choose to one off some Jose Ramirez, or choose to stack up Texas with them as a mini stack.
With 5 minutes to go, anything new on this weather in Baltimore? Still just the same is what it is.
I would say my chances for a delay are slightly higher now than it was at the start, but it's still far enough out that I just can't tell you with certainty if this little batch of rain is going to go just over the ballpark or is going to hold 2 miles south of the ballpark. That's all I got for you, Cheese.
Yeah, well, I'm just glad to have you back.
Yeah, right. It's good to be back, guys. It's wonderful to be back at it. All right. Let's see. This can't possibly be someone's name. This just can't. This must be a troll question, but I'm going to read it. Brian Underwood says, "Is Masto Bueni a good play in a FanDuel GPP? That can't be a real person."
Not only is it a real person, he's hitting leadoff.
I was certain he was trying to get me to say, something that I can't say on a sponsored show. But no, that's a real name. Is
he's the Cubs leadoff hitter, Mastrobuoni, or something like that.
Is he a good play in a FanDuel GPP at the util spot?
Cheese, I want you to answer this because pinch hit risk terrifies me, and
yeah.
I don't think you can play him on FanDuel, but I was genuinely considering punting third base on DraftKings with him.
Yeah, I would not do it, especially on FanDuel utility. No.
Oh, that's a good point. Like, you want to punt somewhere where you have no good options. Util,
there's a lot you can do with utility spot on FanDuel.
Yeah. All right. Joseph says, this is a 3v3. Cheese, Eovaldi, Diaz, Lewis, or France Goldie Gorman?
France Goldie Gorman.
Okay.
Cheese, I currently just punted with Masterman because it allowed me to get Yordan Alvarez as a one-off. Am I stupid in honor of Roth being back?
In honor of Roth being back, no one's stupid, and we're all winners.
That's right.
No, he's okay to punt with.
Yeah. And you got Yordan Alvarez, so
five man Arizona stack, some punts and some Alvarez. It feels pretty good to me.
It sounds pretty good because all Yordan does is hit bombs. So I like your chance there. He, by the way, is my weather home run pick of the day. It has nothing to do with weather. He's just, probably going to hit a home run because that's what he does. Candace says Arizona wait until lock to announce their lineup.
Good. I'm ready now. I found a lineup I'm okay with.
Okay. Just hope that they're all in. Otherwise, you're not ready at all. You don't know that those guys are in, so it's hard to say.
Now that I don't have any Texas, Cleveland, or Baltimore players in my lineup, I don't really care anymore. It was just the fact that I really liked a lot of Texas guys. And Cleveland had some one-offs that I liked, and they just fit that lineup pretty well. But I would have no flexibility if the Arizona lineup's not what I thought it was.
Gotcha.
But
now you got space.
I got space, and we just got the Diamondbacks lineup. Smith, Gurriel batting second, Carroll, Walker, Rivera, Rojas, Moreno, McCarthy, and Perdomo. So there is no Marte.
Wow.
And we have about 18 seconds. Hopefully your Martes and your first game are not all mixed up together.
Nolan Gorman season there.
Okay, well, that's fun.
Yeah, not that fun, but yeah.
Oh, and of course I'm 400 away from being able to get Rivera. Unbelievable. Just salary is too good today. They crushed it.
Yeah, that just means they're doing their job. That's true. All right. Hey, we hit the lock. It's not safe for pitchers. No. All right. Anything you guys want to add here?
Cheese, would you go Adolis Garcia or Kyle Tucker?
Garcia
it is. And if I lose, it's all your fault.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong.
It's a good way to end it. Yeah, that's a good way to end it. I think with that, we are going to get on out of here. So for Cheese, for TJ, for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you, and we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.